Hi, my name's John, and for those of you who aren't familiar, I'm working on getting my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. And so today, I wanted to take a look at the mind of one of the most interesting and complex characters in all of Persona 5 Royal, and that's Makoto Nijima. So if you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it coming from this channel, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and why not even ringing that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure to share this video wherever you like sharing things. It's so appreciated. But with all that out of the way, let's just jump into the video. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know what I'm about to say. If we're going to understand who Makoto is as a character and why she acts the way she does when we meet her, then we're going to need to start from the beginning. Growing up, Makoto and her sister Sae were raised by their father because their mom died when they were both still very young. Now, their father wasn't really around all too much, and for a while this just seemed like it was the status quo until 3 years prior to the events of Persona 5 when he ended up getting hit by a truck and dying while he was on duty as a police officer, which in turn led to the burden of raising and taking care of Makoto being placed squarely on Sae's shoulder from this point forward. Now, as you can imagine, this is an incredibly formative moment in Makoto's life because it's pretty safe to say that it was from this point forward that she began harboring an intense amount of guilt surrounding not only her disdain for her now deceased father, but also for her reliance on her sister. And this is something that is a major through line throughout the course of the game, with the game even illustrating in the third semester that her ideal reality would still be to have her father back, therefore permitting her and her sister to be close again. But unfortunately, this isn't reality, and we can see how profoundly her relationship with her sister has been strained ever since the loss of their father, with no scene in the game illustrating this concept better than their conversation on June 19th.
The only reason you have time to think about that is because you depend on someone else.
That's not...
You don't have to do a single thing, and you're provided with food, clothes, a home. I've had no time to think on such ridiculous thoughts. Would Dad have been happy with them? I don't care. He died upholding some lofty sense of righteousness, leaving all his responsibilities on us.
All I was trying to say was...
Isn't it about time you grew up and acknowledged our situation? Right now, you're useless to me. All you do is eat away at my life. Sorry, that was uncalled for. I'm just really tired. I'll be eating dinner out from tomorrow on.
Now, the idea of Makoto being useless is one that we see recur a couple of times throughout the game, and I believe this really highlights the fact that while Makoto may appear on the surface as a very headstrong and confident individual when we meet her, in reality, she has an incredibly low self-esteem and puts on this somewhat grandiose and condescending facade as a way to protect herself from the fact that she doesn't feel as though she has the ability to take any action in her life, and this is something that she desperately wants to change. If we were to look at Makoto from the lens of William Glasser's choice theory and reality therapy, we'll first need to understand the concepts known as the perceived and quality worlds, which are, at their core, how Makoto experiences the world around her and what she wants from it based on her basic needs, which according to Glasser's theory are belonging, power, survival, freedom, and fun. And so, while these basic needs display what we need, the quality world explains how we meet those needs, which will be different for everyone. So I guess the follow-up question here would have to be, who does Makoto see herself to be, and how is she able to meet these needs? Or is she able to meet them at all?
She's the student council president. Makoto Nijima. It's a pleasure.
In the aftermath of the Kamoshida incident, this is when we really start getting to know Makoto to be the student council president, and in turn Principal Kobayakawa's right hand, whom he pins an excessive amount of responsibility onto while holding her letter of reference to a good university hostage in the process. This introduction to her character is a fascinating one, because while being manipulated and held down by the adults around them is a theme in every member of the Phantom Thieves stories, I think that the motivation for Makoto is particularly interesting. If we look back to William Glasser's theory, every behavior and decision we make is meant to serve one of these 5 basic human needs, which, to reiterate, are survival, power, belonging, freedom, and fun. And so according to this theory, our perceiving world will pass all information that comes to it through a knowledge filter based on how we perceive it through our 5 senses. If the knowledge filter deems the information worthy of being perceived by our minds, then Glasser says that it's passed to the valuing filter, within which a specific stimuli could be perceived as satisfying our needs, therefore placing a positive value on it, hindering our needs, which places a negative value on it, or it does neither and stays neutral within her perceived world. And so to progress, we need to be able to understand how Makoto's actions interact with these most basic needs. And the 3 needs that I want to start with specifically are those of belonging, freedom, and power. But just like a real person, these needs are by no means compartmentalized and mutually exclusive. A lot of times, Makoto will be working towards several of these needs at once, and sometimes these needs will work against each other. So let's untangle the events of the story and how she's slowly able to begin working towards meeting these needs. When we meet her, she has notable deficits in every basic need, barring that of survival. On May 6th, we see Makoto's first conversation with Principal Kobayakawa, where he essentially tells her to find whomever changed Kamoshida's demeanor so profoundly, suspecting that it was caused by one of the students in their school, Shujin Academy. And while this request in and of itself is clearly strange, what's important is how he twists Makoto's arm to follow through with this request. He states that if she follows through, he will write her a letter of recommendation to a prestigious university, while also implying that if she fails, this could disgrace her elder sister's name. And so she follows these orders initially without question. I mean, why wouldn't she? It's clear that she has an opportunity here to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only does she have to do well here so her actions don't poorly reflect on her sister, whom she sees herself as little more than a burden to, but this is also an opportunity to get that letter of recommendation so that she can be able to get into a good college, which would also help to relieve her sister of some of her stress. This to me is clearly a sign of her actively seeking out and moving towards her need for power, or more specifically, the belief that she can be competent and skilled so that she can maintain her sister's name. In essence, by seriously taking on this task, she is trying to bolster her own self-worth, doing this for Kobayakawa and trying to uphold her sister's reputation and get that letter of recommendation. Now, this need for power is lying in conflict with her need for freedom and autonomy. And whether she realizes it or not, this turmoil would just be the beginning, because as she slowly learns more and more about Kobayakawa's complacency in the Kamoshida incident, and she discovers that a criminal organization is taking advantage of Shujin students, both of which she knows to be wrong, she now has to struggle with balancing what she personally believes to be right and what will be good for her sister's reputation and herself. And so this leaves her completely isolated with no one to go to who she can trust to take some of this weight off of her shoulders. It's at this moment, above all others, that she likely feels the most powerless, lacking the freedom to control her destiny, with nowhere to belong, let alone have fun. Right now, all she truly is able to do is meet her most basic need: survival. But this is also when Makoto's true grit begins to show through. And grit, if you aren't familiar, is a term from positive psychology that is defined by the American Psychological Association as being a personality trait characterized by perseverance and passion for achieving long-term goals. Grit entails working strenuously to overcome challenges and maintaining effort and interest over time despite failures, adversities, and plateaus in progress. Recent studies suggest that this trait may be more relevant than intelligence in determining a person's high achievement. For example, grit may be particularly important to accomplishing an especially complex task when there is a strong temptation to give up altogether. As Makoto starts becoming more and more involved with her investigation into the Phantom Thieves, we see her being beaten down relentlessly by everyone she comes in contact with. Like when Ryuji says that she's not dependable, and Akechi states that she's just the good girl type of pushover, when she doesn't immediately have an answer when he asks about whether or not she uses her natural talents to serve the world like he does. Regardless of these insults, which directly hit against her already low self-worth, she pushes forward and, in essence, blackmails Joker into confessing to his involvement with the Phantom Thieves, all so that she can use what little power she's able to grab a hold of to twist their arms to help her to save the students at Shujin. But when it comes down to it, despite all her efforts up to this point, she still wasn't able to meet any of her basic needs. Even though she, in essence, has the Phantom Thieves in her pocket, this doesn't really change much of anything, which is why when she hears On call her useless, not even a day after her sister had said the exact same thing, she reaches her breaking point and takes matters into her own hands. She goes to offer herself up, essentially as a sacrificial lamb, to prove once and for all that she is not useless, to show that she is just as capable as anyone else. And she confronts two of Kaneshiro, the local mob boss's men, asking them to take her to him. I like this moment because it's a perfect display of an individual who is genuinely doing everything in her power to regain some form of control over her life and show that she isn't just a burden on everyone she meets. But in the process, she abandons all logic, in essence trading her most basic need for survival and safety in favor of those feelings of freedom and power. It truly shows that just because someone is trying to meet these most basic human needs, that doesn't by any stretch of the imagination mean that they will do so in a healthy way. And in Makoto's case, she lands right in the clutches of Kaneshiro, dragging the rest of the Phantom Thieves in with her unintentionally.
I will not lose heart again. Ever.
Now once Kaneshiro lets Makoto and the rest of them go, with the stipulation that they must bring him 3 million yen, it's here that we get our first real look into Makoto's mind and how she perceives herself, referring to herself as the scum of the earth for everything that she's done in the desperate hope to be of use. And while things may look bleak, this actually is where things start slowly turning around for her. Yusuke points out himself, Makoto, like the rest of them, didn't have a place to belong, and immediately the team is able to find a use for her as their key into Kaneshiro's palace, bringing her into the metaverse with them. This immediately sets in motion the evolution of Makoto Nijima. And when Kaneshiro catches the thieves trying to get out of his palace, this not only illustrates a fundamental shift in Makoto towards achieving her need for power, or the belief in herself and her abilities, but it also signifies the first true step towards adding to her quality world, declaring that she will never lose heart again. Which, to use a visual representation of one's quality world, it could be described as a picture album where an individual will place the people, things, ideas, and ideals that we have discovered increase the quality of our lives. And so in one fell swoop, Makoto was able to find a group in which she belongs, and she is accepted as their advisor. She discovers that she has a distinct use and purpose within this group, which helps to bolster her self-worth, and what I believe to be the most important development of all, she says this.
I can't be like my sister. I had a feeling that there'd come a time when we wouldn't see eye to eye anymore. I'm thankful to have a sister who works so hard, but there are times I feel sorry for her too. And after hearing my persona's voice, I clearly understand how I feel now.
It appears you're not as reserved as you make yourself seem.
I was just doing whatever the adults told me to.
This is huge for Makoto because prior to this moment, her whole world was living in the shadow of her elder sister. She's always seen herself as striving to see eye to eye with Sae, but always falling short. This definitely confirms what the game has been alluding to for a while already, and explains why she acted so condescendingly towards the Phantom Thieves, leading to this moment. It's because it's highly likely that Makoto was dealing with an inferiority complex, because Makoto constantly carried around these feelings of insecurity, and everyone would talk about how amazing and respected her sister was. The presence of an inferiority complex would explain why she overcompensated so much when she was around her peers, and more specifically, the Phantom Thieves. She clearly talked down to them as though they were beneath her, but this wasn't because she necessarily believed it. Instead, these moments served as a way for her to cope with her own insecurities. It appears with the awakening of her persona that she was able to begin moving past these insecurities though, coming to peace with the fact that she and her sister are different, thus allowing her the freedom to finally live for herself. So once they are able to finally defeat Kaneshiro, eliminating the threat to both Sae and Makoto's futures, she is once again able to have peace of mind that both she and her sister are safe from Kaneshiro and his men. But as the story progresses and we have the opportunity to learn more about Makoto, we could see that while a tremendous amount of change has taken place within the Kaneshiro arc of the game, she is far from finished developing. Looping back to Glasser's ideas within Makoto's social link, she is not only taking distinct steps to continue meeting her needs, but she doesn't remain satisfied with this initial growth. Instead, she continues expanding her quality world and putting more pictures into her proverbial picture album. But even past this, I think that this is where we really see Makoto be able to discover who she truly is.
This time, I'm not seeking anyone's praise.
As we see that Makoto is making positive strides towards meeting and maintaining all 5 of her basic needs based on Glasser's choice theory, with her even expressing in her first social link that she wants to learn how people her age have fun, which is the final need that we really haven't seen much distinct positive movement within. This ultimately leads them into an arcade and subsequently the red light district in the second social link. This illustrates to us that it's Makoto's goal to truly begin understanding her classmates, whom she has up to this point so profoundly distanced herself from. And so now with her slowly moving towards a much healthier place in her life, she feels the comfort to pursue this understanding with the support of Joker, which inevitably reintroduces her to her former classmate Aiko. And it's this reintroduction that really illustrates to me that Makoto is in the identity versus role confusion stage of Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, which I've talked a lot about on this channel. So to keep it brief, this theory looks at developmental stages, each comprised of 2 polarities that occur on a continuum at multiple points throughout an individual's life. So since Makoto is about 17 at this point, this places her firmly within the identity versus role confusion stage of development, which is exactly what it sounds like. This is when the adolescent is working to develop their own identity, values, beliefs, and goals. In essence, they're attempting to discover who they are at this time in their life, and I truly believe that Makoto's social link conveys this beautifully. I mean, in her 4th social link with Joker, she reveals that prior to joining the Phantom Thieves, she likely would have gone down whatever path society had paved for her, likely majoring in law just like Sae did. It's here that she realizes that maybe she needs to reevaluate her goals moving forward. This not only has a positive effect on her continuing to meet the needs of power and freedom, but if we're operating on a continuum, this is a good first step towards her true identity development. And as her social link progresses and she starts doing everything in her power to save her new friend from potentially being roped into what she believes to be a very dangerous situation with a very sketchy host from the red light district, she continues to learn more and more about herself. Later in her social link, she shares with Joker just how profoundly she still grieves for her father's death and how she must continue to push forward. And so once she's able to help her friend Aiko escape from this abusive and manipulative individual that likely could have ruined her life, Makoto is able to take full control of her future, stating in your 10th social link with her that her goal is to become a police commissioner so that she can bring to light all of the illegal activity in Japan that goes unnoticed, thus adding another picture to her quality world. And all of this is why I'm so fascinated by Makoto and have such an incredible amount of respect for her character. Of all of the Phantom Thieves, I would argue that she is one of the members that changes the most over the course of the story. While she may start out condescending and seemingly unlikable, as you delve more and more into the insecurities and pain that may have been backing these behaviors, you begin to realize that there's a lot more to her than initially meets the eye. She goes from having profound deficits in the majority of what Glasser defines to be our basic human needs, and through grit and determination, she is able to manage to get through it all, consistently continuing forward. It's undeniable that she has seen hardship and she's known isolation, and yet she never let it defeat her. So in the end, she was never useless. She just needed to take some time to figure out who she is and what fills up her picture album. But that'll do it for today's video, guys, and I want to pass the question off to you. Do you agree with my assessment of Makoto, or do you think I missed a couple things here and there? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, why not liking the video, why not subscribing to the channel, and why not even ringing that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And I'm so excited to say that we've officially launched our own Discord server, and we already have over 100 members. So if you want to engage with the community, that's unbelievably nice, to be completely honest. It's really been great. So consider joining that. Link will be in the description down below. And as always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And I will see you in the next video. Later.